Alright guys, for those who don't know me, my name is Harrison Turner. I started up Louisiana Inshore Outfitters approximately 2 to 3 months ago. I'm just the average guy. I like to go fishing. I grew up going down the river with my daddy. He has a camp. We'd do things, we'd run lines, we'd go frogging. You know, I mean, that's what we like to do. About a year, maybe 2 years ago, I got my first boat. It wasn't nothing special, $1,000 boat. It was a 98 bass tracker. It needed a lot of work. I put the work in, started fishing. I realized that I love fishing. My family loves it. We winded up upgrading. I sold the boat, saved some money, got a new boat, which is a 19.5-foot Sea Fox with a 125 Mercury 2-stroke. It's a 2004 model. My pride and joy, to say less. I fish out of Hopedale a lot, targeting speckled trout, redfish. You know, that's the main things. My daddy's got into fishing. It's something that we bond over, actually. I mean, we love to do it. You know, needless to say, me and the guys that work for me also own a fencing company. I know when you hear own something, that seems like that person's got a lot of money. That's not the case. I wish it was, or I wouldn't be making this video. So for months, I'd been wanting to go to the Chandelier Islands. I wanted to go out there and target speckled trout. We got some good weather, some good conditions. I think we had 2 to 3 knot winds for most of the day. A guy who used to work for me, and then a guy who currently works for me, and my 10-year-old son. We decided we're going to launch out of Venice at Cypress Cove Marina. We're headed to the islands. The plan was to fish Brenton Island, Gosher Island, maybe Curlew. We run out. I mean, it seems like in no time we're there. You know, everything's going perfect. And let me mention, this boat that I bought, the Sea Fox, never had any issues out of it other than, I mean, I upgraded the radio, I upgraded some gauges, you know, stuff that I wanted to do to it. So we run out there, we fish a little bit, we're catching ladyfish, so we're kind of moving on kind of quickly. We make it over to Curlew Island, which now that looking back on it, I realize that's 40 miles out of Venice. I wasn't thinking that at the time. So we're running along about 30 miles an hour, not wide open throttle. All of a sudden I hear like a clang or like a grinding noise almost. Lower unit goes out. Okay, so let's deal with this. First and foremost, let's get this child back to safety. That's the main focus. Come to find out, and now we're operating off a satellite at the time. We don't have cell service, so when we send a message out, we're operating off of a satellite. You got to turn your phone toward the satellite in order to get signal. Anybody who's ever been in a situation will know what I'm talking about. So we get word out, hey, we're stranded, lower unit's gone. Now, we took the lower unit apart. We took it off the motor. I mean, we did everything we could. I tried to manually put it into forward. Just at least we could limp in that way, you know. That didn't work. My wife, she's scared to death. She don't know what's going on. My son's got asthma. We can barely get messages in and out. We wound up being rescued by the Coast Guard. CETO wouldn't come and get us because we're too far away. We get rescued by the Coast Guard. Well, their boat gets stuck in shallow water. They wind up getting it off, you know, with help of the Border Patrol boat that, you know, pulled us off, but their impellers are burnt up. So we wind up getting pulled in by the Border Patrol Air and Marine. Matter of fact, shout out to y'all. But instead of pulling us back to Venice, or I say taking us back to Venice, they take us to Gulfport. So at that point, I was pretty much forced to leave the boat where it was. So we anchor the boat off. Luckily, I had a cousin, my dad, some of my family making a trip down to Venice to snapper fish. So I make it into Gulfport. I go home, sleep. That morning, I wake up. About lunchtime, I leave and head to Venice. Well, that evening, we try to go out and recover my boat. The boat has now pulled anchor, drifted, and it's about 2 miles down the island. We find the boat, but the boat is sitting on the sand, no water. So we take every rope we have. It's not enough. So I'm forced to leave the boat once again. So the plan is, hey, Harrison, stay here with us tonight. In the morning at high tide, we'll go back. We'll get your boat. Perfect. That's the best chance I have at recovering my boat. So, of course, I do it. We go back. There's about 6 to 8 inches of water around the boat. And for some boats, that's enough to float it. Mine, that's not the case. We can get a little closer this time. Now, we're in a 30-foot contender. Had we been able to get enough rope, we could have definitely pulled it off. I mean, the boat that we're in has twin motors on it. You know, and shout out to David Smith. He definitely did what he could for me, and I appreciate that. You know, it was just a sad situation. There wasn't much I could do at that point. You know, I left the boat. I mean, when the Coast Guard got us, I got all my poles. I got everything I could off the boat. We leave Venice. At this point, I'm reaching out to people. Cito wants $3,000, but yet they won't even go that far. Towboat US, they want around the same thing. I can't afford that, guys. You know, I mean, if I could, I would have done it. So I get in touch with some other family. They put me in touch with some other people. I meet this guy, Desi. I'm not sure what his last name is, but I will find that out for you guys. He works for Biloxi Marsh Land. So if anybody's familiar with the Biloxi Marsh, there's a WMA on that, or in that area. He manages that. He preserves the marsh. He's the guy who puts the posted signs, you know, next to the grass. If anybody's ever seen those, they know what I'm talking about. He's a great guy. He tells me, hey, we're going to get your boat back. You know, we look at conditions. Sunday's probably the best day to go. We got the highest tide range. The wind's laid down. Let's go get your boat. Perfect. I mean, I'm excited. So for those of y'all who don't know, I started the channel Louisiana Inshore Outfitters. I mean, it means a lot to me. I mean, it's not much, you know, but maybe one day it will be. And really, I just like to share, you know, what we do. I mean, I ain't the best fisherman, you know, but I enjoy what I do. My kids love what we do. We like to share it with people. So me and Desi, we meet up. I've never met this guy. He's one of the coolest people I've ever met. He'll be a friend for life, for sure. He has almost something similar to a crew boat. We leave out. It's about an hour run. We get there. We find the boat. I see it. I say, you know, let's pull up as shallow as we can. I'll get out. I'll walk to the boat. I'll pull it back. You know, we'll pull it in. So at this point, I'm dealing with a busted lower unit. So at this point, Harrison has to take care of replacing a lower unit. I can do that. I start walking up to the boat, about knee-deep water. We're walking up. I notice, man, that boat's a lot farther from where I left it, which the water's a lot higher than it was when I was there. So that's normal. First thing I see is my anchor line. So I grab the anchor line thinking I can pull the boat toward me. I really just grabbed it to see if it was floating or not. When I grab the anchor line, the boat's not attached to it. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. I take a few more steps toward the boat, and anybody who ever walked in water knows you're not moving very fast. So I walk a little further, and I realize like the panel that holds all the electrical on the side of my engine, it's laying in the water. About that time, I realized my trolling motor's gone. So I'm like, okay, somebody ran across the boat. Essentially, they hit a lick off of me. Okay. See, I can deal with that. You steal my batteries, you steal my trolling motor, you steal my electronics. I can deal with that. I make it up to the boat. I see wires hanging out under my cowling on the motor. I'm like, okay, this situation is a little worse than I thought it was. I get there, the boat's floating, thank God. Which I had bought a spool of rope. It's like 1,200 foot of rope. We would have been able to pull the boat off if had it been aground. You know, I didn't go back unprepared this time. I pull the boat out to deeper water. We hook it up. We tow it in. You know, the whole ride in, I'm not really understanding exactly the situation that I'm dealing with, but I realize, hey, it's a bad situation. There's no reason to be negative about it. You know, we'll have to deal with it. You know, I mean, that's the only thing you can do. Come to find out later on, once I get the boat home and start assessing the situation, there's a Powerade bottle, which we left the Powerade bottle on the boat. It was trash. But whoever had came and stole all of these items had filled this Powerade bottle up with sand and salt water, removed my spark plugs, and filled the engine block with sand and salt water. That's the thing that really hit me hard. That's the reason I'm making this video. If it was a trolling motor, the electronics, the batteries, hey, we'll deal with that. You know, we'll save up some money and we'll buy those things. But essentially, my motor is ruined. I mean, could I go get it rebuilt? You know, taken completely apart, cleaned, and all of those things. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Do I have the money to do that? No. Also, if I was to come up with that money, put all that money into the boat, including the electronics, the trolling motor, the batteries, the net, the boga grip, that one really got me. The boga grip. Like, did you need it that bad? I essentially have way more money into a boat than what it's worth. Now, what it's worth to me is a different question, you know. I mean, you know, I'm kind of finding myself at a crossroads. Is do I rebuild the boat or do I start over, basically? You know, because I started from a little bass tracker, $1,000 bass tracker, and hey, I'm not against going back to that. I just love to be on the water. My kids love to be on the water. I'm not against that. I'll definitely do that if that's the case. But pretty much the way it sits now, it almost don't make much sense to rebuild it. You know, I thought about repowering the boat. You know, I mean, that's a possibility. You know, do I get a engine that I'm gonna have trouble out of, or, you know, do I get one that's gonna be sound? I mean, the one I had was fine, other than that lower unit going out, which it never showed any signs of having any trouble. You know, so basically what I'm saying is I'm in a tough position. You know, I'm not rich. You know, I make enough to get by. You know, we want to get back out on the water. We want to continue making content for you guys. You know, my kids love it. I love it. You know, I mean, it's essentially my escape. I mean, that's what I do. I go to work. I come home. I spend a little bit of time with my family. I go fishing. I mean, that's it. You know, that's the one thing that I love to do. You know, so if anybody could donate, that'd be wonderful. I mean, it goes toward a good cause. We're making content. Kids are developing a way of life. I'm trying to provide a way of life for these children. You know, I really feel bad about asking anybody for anything. I'm not that type of person. I don't ask people for help. You know, it's just kind of hard for me. You know, and I will get back on the water one way or the other. You know, if anybody could help or could donate, 50 cents means the most to me. You know, anything helps. And then also, I would like to raise awareness for people that don't know or just didn't think of it. Because like me, I didn't think, hey, my boat's going to be ransacked. I realized it was out there for a long time because it took about 2 weeks before I was able to get back to the boat. But I never thought, hey, somebody's going to steal my stuff, you know. Because I'm the type of guy, if I see you out on the water and something's wrong, I'm gonna help you in every way I can. I'm gonna tow you in if I need to. If that means I burn my fuel, hey, you don't have to worry about that. I'll burn my fuel, pull you in. You know, just like Desi. I offered to pay for the fuel to go get that boat. He would not let me. You know, that's the type of guy I am. You know, so basically, this is what has happened to me. You know, I never thought I'd be in this situation. So if anybody could at the very least, spread the awareness that, hey, there are people out there that will do this to your stuff. They don't care what situation you're in. They don't care how hard you work for your stuff. They will take it if given the chance. All right, guys. Thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate you.